My mother stole my identity and ruined my credit. I always thought my mom was my biggest cheerleader. Growing up, it was just the two of us, and she made countless sacrifices to make sure I had a good life. Or at least, that's how it felt back then. She worked long hours at her retail job and still managed to cook dinner every night, help with my homework, and make me feel like I was her number one priority. She'd always tell me, "We're a team, you and me. We'll get through anything together." I'm in my early 30s now, but this whole mess started when I was 19. I had just been accepted to my dream college, an out-of-state university I couldn't afford without loans. My mom was over the moon for me, cheering me on and telling everyone how proud she was. But when it came time to apply for financial aid, we hit a snag. I needed her tax information, and she was evasive. At first, she'd wave me off with excuses like, "Oh, those forms are so complicated. Let me handle it for you. You have enough on your plate." And honestly, I believed her. She always seemed like she had everything under control. Plus, she had raised me alone, so I figured if anyone knew how to deal with financial stuff, it was her. She ended up submitting the forms for me, and I thought that was the end of it. But then, little things started happening. A few months into my first semester, I started getting these weird credit card offers in the mail. At the time, I didn't think much of it. Everyone said it was normal once you turned 18. But then one day, I got a bill. Not an offer. A bill. It was for a credit card I didn't even know I had, with a $200 balance. I remember calling the company, furious, thinking someone had stolen my identity. The guy on the phone was like, "Are you sure you didn't authorize this? The card's been active for months." I was adamant that I hadn't, so they told me to file a fraud report. When I told my mom about it, she got this weird, almost defensive look on her face. She shrugged and said, "Oh, that's probably just a mistake, don't worry about it." And because I trusted her, I let it go. Looking back, there were so many red flags, but I was young and busy with school, working part-time, and trying to figure out my life. I didn't have the mental bandwidth to connect the dots. But then, a couple of years later, things escalated. I was about to graduate and decided to move off campus with a couple of friends. We found this great little apartment and started the application process. I didn't think twice when the leasing office ran my credit. Why would I? I didn't even have a credit card, so I figured my credit would be clean. Boy, was I wrong. The leasing manager called me into her office and handed me a copy of my credit report. I couldn't believe what I was looking at. There were multiple credit cards I didn't recognize, a payday loan, and even a defaulted car loan. My credit score? A horrifying 480. I was in shock. I remember sitting there, my hands shaking, trying to process how this could have happened. I hadn't even owned a car, let alone taken out a loan for one. I called my mom in tears, telling her what I'd just found out. At first, she played dumb. "Oh, that's crazy, you must be the victim of identity theft." I wanted to believe her, but something about the way she said it didn't sit right with me. I started asking more questions, and her answers got weirder and weirder. Finally, after what felt like hours of back and forth, she admitted it. She had been using my identity since I was 18. She'd opened credit cards, taken out loans, and racked up thousands of dollars in debt, all in my name. She said she'd meant to pay them off, but things got out of hand. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This was my mom, the woman who raised me, who sacrificed so much for me. How could she do this? She tried to justify it by saying it was for us, that she'd only done it to keep us afloat. She blamed her low-paying job, medical bills, and the cost of living. "I didn't have a choice," she said. "It's not like I was stealing from a stranger. We're family." That's when it hit me. She didn't see it as stealing. To her, it was just a necessary evil. I was furious, heartbroken, confused. I told her I needed time to think and hung up. But the more I thought about it, the angrier I got. She hadn't just ruined my credit, she'd betrayed my trust. The next few months were a nightmare. I had to file a police report to start disputing the fraudulent accounts, which meant pressing charges against my own mother. I didn't want to, but every lawyer and financial advisor I spoke to said it was the only way to fix my credit. When my mom found out, she called me sobbing, begging me to drop the charges. She said it would ruin her life if she got a criminal record. I told her, "You already ruined mine." That was the last time we spoke. The fallout was brutal. Some of the accounts were removed from my credit report, but not all of them. It took years of fighting with credit bureaus, creditors, and even the IRS to get things sorted out. My credit score eventually improved, but it was a slow, painful process. In the meantime, I had to put my life on hold. I couldn't get approved for an apartment, so I ended up couch surfing with friends. I couldn't qualify for a car loan, so I had to rely on public transportation. Every time I applied for something and got denied, I felt a fresh wave of anger and betrayal. What hurt the most, though, was the loss of my relationship with my mom. I kept thinking about all the times she'd told me, "We're a team." How could someone who was supposed to be on my side do something like this? She never went to jail. The police report was enough to clear my name with most creditors, but the district attorney didn't pursue charges. They said it wasn't worth the time or resources since she claimed financial desperation. It's been over a decade now, and I still haven't spoken to her. Sometimes I wonder if she regrets it or if she just moved on like nothing happened. As for me, I'm doing okay. Married, a decent job, and slowly rebuilding the life she almost destroyed. But every time I check my credit score or apply for a loan, I feel a pang of anger and sadness. It's not just about the money, it's about trust. How do you forgive someone who not only stole from you but justified it by saying it was for your own good? Anyway, that's my story. If you're reading this and thinking, "Wow, that's messed up," trust me, I know. And if you've ever been in a similar situation, I'm so sorry. No one deserves to go through this, especially at the hands of someone they love.